Cool. We got people from all over. So yeah, just I'm Jack. I know a lot of these teachers through positive physics, but this is designed to be useful for you whether or not you use positive physics or not. So yeah, this is I'm going to show you how to use the site to create free response questions that are graded by AI. So keep in mind that some people have used positive physics before, some people haven't. Um, all of our AP review materials are completely free, as well as creating your own questions is all and using those with your students is free. You will need to create a positive physics account, but also I'll give everybody who attends this, I'll give you a code at the end where you can actually use all of our materials for free for the rest of the school year, if that is helpful for you. All right. Oh yeah, and if you have any questions during this, we have a relatively small group today. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask or put a question in the chat. All right. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and start showing you around. All right. So we made a bunch of mini free response questions just for physics so far. And first, I'm going to show you how they work, and then I'll show you how to create your own. You're welcome to use ours again for free, or you're welcome to create your own. All right. So to find them after you create a positive physics account, they're within each unit. So units for
Unit.
everyone for the AP test AP1. So that's unit physics units 1 through 16, or 1 through 19, excuse me. They're already on there. And then just yesterday, I made unit 32 that has all of our free response questions. So yeah, first let me show you kind of what they look like, and then I'll show you how to create your own, and then there'll be lots of time for questions. All right, so if I go to unit 32, I'm going to do a rotational dynamics question. So if you click into the lessons and questions here, you'll see there are a few free response questions for each skill. And I'm going to go to this problem number 2. So it says an ice skating student is spinning as shown. To start with, his arms are crossed in front of his chest, and then he expands them like this. And says, what happens to the ice skater's rotational speed? Justify your answer in terms of the ice skater's angular momentum and moment of inertia. So in these styles of problems, students are actually typing in their answers. So I'm going to say that the rotational speed decreases because the moment of inertia increases. All right, so this is not a complete answer, so it shouldn't get full credit. And when I click on check answers, it gives me credit for what happened to the angular speed. It gives me credit for stating what would happen to the moment of inertia. But in the question, it also asked me to address the angular momentum. And so that's why I gave the student 2 out of 3. The student on our site, the student can then fix it. So I say, um, and the angular momentum remained the same. So students have unlimited chances to fix these. And when I click check answers now, it gives me credit. That little double check there means that they got that right, but not on their first try. That also is reflected in their having the full completion for that problem, but less credit for accuracy. Accuracy is only their first try score. So yeah, that's what we're trying to create. And now I'll show you how you create those on the site. Or actually, let me pause right there and just see if anybody has any questions about kind of the goal of what we're trying to create here or how these work before I show you how to write your own. Cool. All right. So, yeah, to create your own, you'll go under Advanced and go to Create Questions and Lessons. All right. And then you'll notice that there are a bunch of editable examples right here. Today we're working on the free response ones. So you could click on that to view an example, or I'll just show you how I would create one. So you're going to start right here, and you're going to click on FRQ. And then it shows you the format that we need to put it in so that the AI knows how to create it. So we're going to start with the question. And I'm going to create that same question that we just watched right there. So it's an ice skater. I think I'm going to do it in the opposite direction though. An ice skater is spinning and brings their arms closer to their chest Um, what happens to their rotational speed and why? All right, so you'll see that in our preview right here. That's going to go at the top. And then we need to give, for the AI to grade it well, we need to give it an exemplar and we need to give it a rubric. So my exemplar, let me, this time, instead of having you guys watch me type and me messing up, I'm going to paste this in. So my exemplar is his rotational speed will increase because his angular momentum is conserved, but his moment of inertia decreases. All right. And then we need to give how many we need to tell it like the rubric, like what we want it to grade for. And how we set this up is for each point right here, you have you give the category. So that's what the student sees. If I pull this back up, so let me duplicate the slide and go to or sorry, um, over here, I can see that like I can like kind of hint at the student what I want, or I can give them like generic just category like point one, point two, things like that. So I'm going to say they get 1 point for giving me the correct answer. So I'm going to put in state that the angular momentum, let's see, this time I did it where their arms got closer to their chest. So I'm sorry, state that the rotational speed, if their arms get closer to their chest, that rotational speed is going to increase. And then I'm going to say, okay, I want to give them 2 points for the explanation. So explanation part one is going to be state that the moment of inertia. So as their arms got closer to their chest, that moment of inertia will decrease. And then I also want to give them a point for a second thing, because on the AP test, a lot of times you need to state what also stayed the same. So state that the angular momentum um, remained the same or was conserved. Because I want to put in multiple things just because like sometimes it can be overly picky. And so I want to kind of give all the possibilities. All right. And then I need to end that right here. Um, I see uh, a real extra quotation mark right there. So I realize I got a little typo somewhere. Okay, maybe I didn't and it just hadn't updated. Okay, so then and one way to just check this is I can do show your answers and then check my answers. And okay, this is it's going to insert my exemplar and then just make sure that it grades my exemplar correctly. Before you give this to your students, one thing you want to do is you want to make sure to paste in, like try a whole bunch of different explanations right here. Explanations that should be given full credit, explanations that should be given partial credit, and make sure it's grading how you want it to grade. If it's not, then make sure you change your rubric. It is the AI takes things very literally, so just make sure you try a bunch of different things. It'll save you a bunch of time before you put it out in front of your students if you make sure things are grading it how you want to. Um, While this is not required, I like to almost always have an image. I pre-made an image. I make all my images on PowerPoint. So I'm going to put in a section break and then I'm going to insert an image. I'm going to upload it from my desktop. So previously I'd made this ice skater arms in image and I'm going to add that here. You have to give it a name and add it. And so now my students have something to look at. All right. Um, and then you save the question. All right. Yeah, and let me pause right there and see if anybody has any questions before I show you the next couple things. Great. Yeah, so I want to show you kind of if you wanted to get more advanced with this. I know Roberta has created a ton of these questions. I'm curious if she's created any questions that had multiple versions. So you'll notice on our questions, a lot of times, like um, our questions might have like one where the ice skater is expanding their arms and one where they're bringing them back together. So one thing that you can do is you can use our variable tag here to change some things. So I pre-made this one because it takes a little bit longer to create. I don't want to spend the time like doing that in front of everybody. But if I go and check out this example, all right, so first, before I explain kind of the code over here, don't get freaked out if you don't know coding. These are super easy to do. But if you notice that when I hit reset on this one, that word outward and inward changes. And then also this image over here changes. So this problem has two different types. Okay, gotcha. Revert. Oh yeah, that's right. I saw you in the Facebook comments. You wrote that you use like the index. Um, um, yeah, okay. And then I got another question in the chat. I see it. Let me explain this one first, and then I'll get back to it. All right. So in this to create a question that has multiple versions, you can use this variable tag. So you'll notice that I insert where I wanted this to say outward or inwards, I inserted a variable right here. Um, and then essentially what I have it do is first I create a random variable. It's index. That's either going to be a one or a two. And then I created for each one of these, I created an array. Um, So, like the first one, they're moving their arms outwards, and that'll cause the speed to decrease because the moment of inertia increased, and it's associated with this image. It's a lot to explain. I think I'll just include a link to this in the follow-up email. But essentially, what it's doing is it's randomly picking an index between one and two, and then where I put in the word motion, it's either putting outward. If it picks a one, it makes the motion outward, the speed decrease, the moment of inertia increase, and the image this first one. Or if it randomly selects a two, then it changes those words to inward increase, decrease, and it changes the image. So I didn't there's a lot to explain. I can answer more questions on it later. But for now, yeah, just know that you can create multiple versions. I like to give my students questions like this and then have it show up again on an assessment. And so they didn't know what version they were getting, and it made sure they really understood it, not just explain the answers. Oh, Robert asked a good question. How do you rubric for the multiple versions? Good question. So you'll notice that in my rubric, I use the variables too. So like I wrote out, okay, state that is rotational motion will. And then in the rubric, it's going to randomly insert if it was version one for speed, it's inserting decrease, and for version two for speed, it's inserting increase. So you can use variables in the rubric, just like you can use variables in the question. Roberta, does that make sense?
Yes, that's also a very different way of listing the index options than what I saw before. That before was always the conditional statements, index
Gotcha.
equal equal question mark, one question mark, etc. That looks like a much more compact and easy way to program those index values.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we go back and forth between like I think the other one's a little bit more easy to understand. This one's a little bit more compact. I'll send in the follow-up email, I'll send a copy where you can see this one as well. Great. Okay, we had also had a question. How about creating a grid to draw a graph given a table of data? All right. Right now, unfortunately, like this is just for students writing written explanations. We do have like a graphing tool. We're working on a linearization tool. But right now we can't grade we don't have the ability for students to draw a graph yet. Okay, then yeah, let me I'm gonna move forward unless there are other questions. Let me move forward onto how to actually take this problem and insert it into your course so your students can actually do it. Um, But yeah, let me pause real quick and see if anybody has any other questions on this part of it before we go on to the next one. All right. So, once you've created your question and actually want to use it with your students, then what you'll do is there are pre-made courses that we have. Again, you're welcome to use those for free for the rest of the year with your students. Um, I'll give you the code at the end. But if you wanted to actually write your questions to get your students to be able to use yours, what you have to do is you have to create a custom course. So to do that, I'll go under advanced and I'll go create um sorry, create we already did create questions. Now we're going to create courses. Then you'll add a course right here. I could call it custom course. You'll add a unit and add a skill. I already did that. So you're going to see down here, I have Jack's custom course. I have unit one and I have skill one. All right. So then what I need to do is then I have to insert my question. All right. So in Jack's custom course, in skill one, I'm going to search for FRQ. Um, this was the first one that I made, FRQ like that. And I hit save. And then when you or your students are on the dashboard, you'll be able to go to your custom course. You'll see your unit and your skill. I put this in as the second question. And then it's right there, and your students will be able to use it. I found it most helpful to kind of create mini free response questions and not like it's pretty hard to write the full length AP style questions. I think Roberta probably has. But I like to ask them little things just to get in the habit of writing good explanations and then going from there. Um, yeah, so again, you're welcome to use this with your students. I'm going to put in the chat if you create an account on positivephysics.org, and then the activation code is AP 2026. Um, Even without that activation code, you've had free access to all the review stuff. And then with that code, that'll give you free access to everything and allow you to create your own free response questions and put them in front of your students. All right. That was pretty quick, but that is it for how to create free response questions for your students. I'm happy to stick around for if anybody has any questions. But also if you have to hop off, really appreciate you coming and hope you can find this to be useful with your students.
I have a question. It
Sure.
says that you can't paste into the box. Is that just directions or can they physically not paste into that box?
Oh, they physically cannot paste into the box.
Oh, awesome.
Oh yeah, Roberta had I mentioned this before. So um you can if a student has a like student tries the problem and you don't like the grade that was given to them. So here I'm going to type in I'm just going to say this and it gives me 0 out of 3, of course. All right. So if you want to change their grade, what you can do is you can go to this is this is actually coming in. This isn't on the main site just yet, but it is coming out very soon. Um, all right, so let me go to, so I've gone to teacher and I've gone to student scores. All right, and then I'm going to go find my course. And then let's see, we were looking at it with the teacher account. I'm going to go to the skill that I wanted. And I see like, oh, this student has a 0% on number one and number two. I was interested in number two right here. I can see the grade that it gave them as well as their response. And then I can click on edit scores right there. And if I want to, I can give them a 100. That part is actually out on that part is already out on the site. The part that is new is if it was a kind of annoying to cycle between different students' work, but now you can just you can hit these arrows and that'll go to the next. Right now, I only have the teacher up, But if I hit these arrows, it'll cycle to the next student. That'll be available for you guys next week. Right now, you have to close it out and then go to the next one. And people are telling us that that was a pain, which makes sense. So yeah, if you want to edit your student scores, you can go in there and you can change them like that. All right, great question. Anything else from anybody? Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Other thing I just wanted to point out is if you have questions anytime, my email address is all over the website. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. Also, if you join there's a link on the main physics site, on the main physics page, and all the other ones to join our Facebook group. People have started asking questions in there, and a lot of times people like Roberta will will answer before I can even get to it, which is awesome. So so yeah, and if you create stuff, yeah, please reach out with any feedback, any questions. We had some really good feedback from teachers who said, probably the favorite one I've heard is a teacher said he put this in front of his students for the first time the other day, and they started answering the questions, and the class was just so much quieter than he'd ever heard it, which was really interesting. So students seem to really like it, and it saves teachers a ton of time not having to grade every question. So so yeah, again, thank you so much for coming. If you have questions anytime, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, thanks everyone. I'll send some links and helpful stuff as soon as we get the recording up. All right, thanks again. Bye.